us, we were seeing a lot of myopia, so short-sighted developmental conditions. There's a massive surge of it. The World Health Organization have flagged myopia as a priority health concern.
Hi everyone, welcome back to another executive interview. I'm very excited and delighted to be sitting with Nguyen, the founder of Luxi Health, a company that's addressing what they call a hidden crisis that's affecting over 630 million children worldwide. John, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Now, John, let me start with something that might shock our viewers. So, you're telling us that by 2050, half the world's children will be myopic. That means needing glasses. Now, when I read about Luxi, this isn't just about vision correction. So, can you walk us through what you discovered that made you realize that we are facing a crisis that even most parents don't even know about?
So, I'm a registered optometrist. I've been one for 20 years. And my journey into myopia, the interest in that field, probably started during the lockdowns, the COVID-19 lockdowns. So during that time, kids were doing home learning, screen time, indoors for a majority of the time. And when the patients were coming out of that and seeing us, we were seeing a lot of myopia, so short-sighted developmental conditions. There's a massive surge of it. So they're all coming out. All needing glasses, needing contact lenses. Okay, so that's amplified it, but the trend of these vision problems has been on the up progressively, over the decades. Okay, and getting quicker and quicker, and that's because they are indoors all the time, screen dependent, and the trends are worldwide. So in Australia, we're probably at about 40% of the population being short-sighted now. That's increased dramatically over the last 10 years. But we contrast that to Asia, their populations are already at 80-90% of their adolescent populations short-sighted. So it's a very, very big problem. It's a big problem, here domestically, worldwide. It's a problem that's been identified by the World Health Organization. So they've flagged myopia as a priority health concern. So just to give some more context as well, so short-sightedness, myopic, that means, in traditional terms, you can't see far away, you need glasses, contact lenses to see. Now, what we know for sure now is myopia is actually a progressive, lifelong chronic disease. So what that means is the kids will acquire it at school age, say age 8. In the traditional path, we'd update the glasses as they grow up to adulthood. And, in the past, we just accepted that and that's fine. We got a good outcome. They could see, function okay. But what we know now is the myopia is actually stretching of the eyeball. The tissue structure is being stretched. The structure of that eye is being changed. So when you get to adulthood in the later years, age 50, 60, 70 onwards, your risk of getting a blinding eye disease actually increases by 4 times, okay? And that's the massive, massive end problem. So, governments, particularly in Asia, they understand this, they know the problem, they need solutions, and they're scrambling to find those solutions.
Oh, that's truly staggering, John. Now, as you mentioned that, you've been an optometrist for over 20 years, so you must have experienced this trend developing firsthand in your practice. So was there like a particular moment, maybe a specific patient or a family member that made you think that, I can't just keep prescribing glasses, I need to tackle this at the source?
Yeah, good question. And that speaks directly how I founded Luxi Health. So being a practicing optometrist, I was seeing the patients day to day. I'd see the child, I'd diagnose them as short-sighted. I'd explain that to the parents. And my first line of advice would be, you need to get your child outdoors, away from the screens, in the sunlight for 2 hours a day. Okay, so that's what we've always understood. Best practice is to get your child outdoors for 2 hours a day. Now, I dispense that advice. Parents would be, of course, very receptive to it. They say, yeah, we'll try. And then, of course, I see them a month later and I'll ask them, have you been able to spend 2 hours a day outdoors? And of course, they'll shake their head and be a little bit embarrassed about it. Oh, just been busy. And then as a practitioner, I'd sort of put that to the side as well. I'm like, okay, at least we tried. And then we'll just move on to the glasses and the contact contacts, okay, because it's convenient, it's right there, the proven methods to treat the problem, okay. So I'd be doing that day to day and thinking, okay, we could do more, but you know, it's difficult. But the moment that changed it for me was when my daughter became short-sighted. Okay, so I'd go to work every day, see many families, give the advice, you know, think possibly we could do more. But then we did a check for my daughter, and then she became short-sighted. That's me knowing the research, the data, the best practice, and even myself as a committed optometrist. You know, that happened within my family. So that was the moment where I said to myself, look, we really got to look at this advice of the 2 hours a day, because that advice, we've known it for a long time. The studies, the research has known that and supported that for a long time. But that bridge, that gap between, you know, practitioner advice, the studies, practitioner advice and patient outcome, yeah, we need to do better and somehow get a bridge to connect that. And, you know, my product, Luxi Health, was founded on that, trying to find that solution.
Wow, so it's very close to you, definitely.
Yes, it is.
So, John, now, like, because you're a parent as well, so from a parent's perspective, because many of our viewers watching this would be parents themselves, so we're talking about children spending 90% of their time indoors. So, beyond just the vision issues, what should the parents actually be worried about? What else is at stake over here?
Yeah, well, you know, talking to the parents, it doesn't take too much to really explain this one. I think we all know that our kids are spending too much time indoors, too much time on screens. And as a parent, you're kind of living that challenge, you know, every day, right? You're always encouraging them to put the devices down, you know, get away from the screen, you know, get outside. And so parents know that, you know, and, you know, when they kind of look at the sort of studies as well, I mean, it's proven. One of the shocking studies that I came across was, this is over in the UK, but of course similar, you know, lifestyle as us here in Australia. So they looked at their children populations, and the average prison inmate actually spends more time outdoors than the typical school child. Reason being because prison inmates, they're mandated. You got to get 30 minutes of exercise outdoors. Wow. So the average child is probably spending 10, 15 minutes outdoors. You know, that's a shocking stat. And that's UK based, but of course we can take that number and it would probably be very similar across, you know, Australia, US, you know, Asia as well. Of course, you know, they're facing their own crisis. So parents know this. We can do more. Of course, my background is in the vision sciences, optometrist, so I'm speaking directly to myopia. Yeah. But it's clear, it's obvious. If you get your child outdoor, the overall health benefits are there. We're talking mental health, we're talking circadian rhythm health, we're talking metabolic health. So if we get on top of this, you know, the bigger benefits are very wide-reaching. It's something that I'm committed to changing.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, that's the stats, the story that you shared about the UK. It's indeed very surprising. So it actually seems that it's much bigger health crisis than just needing the glasses. Now, John, what caught my attention about Luxi was that every eye doctor apparently knows that, you know, daylight exposure is the gold standard advice, but there's this massive gap in actually implementing it. You can't measure it, you can't actually track it as well. So how exactly are you solving that fundamental problem?
Yeah, well, our solution is based on a wearable device, okay, that it's attached to child's clothing, and that will measure the light exposure, the intensity, and then so we can measure it, and then we can monitor it. So it's connected to an app, and the app will you know, take that data and then collate it, and then you know, part of the app as well, of course, will motivate the child to spend more time outdoors.
Right,
okay,
correct.
and these days, got some really good tools out there. I think everyone's had their own experiences with their particular app. Again, during my journey, what sort of sparked this idea? I think I was using Duolingo at the time, because a lot of people know that program.
Yeah.
The purpose of it is to teach you a different language.
Yeah.
But I was addicted to it. I was logging on every day, making sure I'm doing the exercises. Yeah. But I found I wasn't really learning the language. I was just addicted to kind of checking off the milestones and getting the streaks.
Correct.
You know, so that type of technology in these apps, the psychology behind it, the dopamine hits. We can use that to our advantage, and in this case, in a very positive way, right? So the app itself, of course, it's a balance of them wanting to, interact with the screen and the device, but there has to be some prompts and some encouragement, some coaching there. We can do that, gamification. That's what they call it. Make it fun, make it engaging. And I think the real secret of it is if we get the formula right, the child will actually interact with our system without even realizing the therapeutic benefit of it. Okay, it's not like mum and dad just lecturing you, Sally, get outdoors, we need to spend 2 hours a day. No, they're looking at the little, their progress, they're getting encouraged by it. Oh, you've got this much to go, let's catch up. And then they can sort of have competitions with their kids, the other kids, and compare against their peers, and just make it a really fun experience. And that way we can get that change.
Wow, truly wonderful. So you're actually addressing the problem at the very core by, especially what you said about, because it's difficult to address such a problem because, children don't really listen to parents. So yeah, that is a very exciting way and a very, very engaging for kids as well. Now you mentioned that, this market is around $100 million market opportunity. So what really excites me is that, you're not just competing with existing treatments, you're actually creating a entirely new category in the pediatric health. So from an investor's perspective, how does that change the game compared to just being another medical device company?
Yeah, good question. So the way I see it, Luxi Health, we're positioning ourselves very differently to current treatments out there. We're front line, so we're kind of coming back to fundamentals. Getting outdoors in the sunlight is core to our health. Okay, so many studies. I'm speaking about vision today. All the research shows that, but we can also look at other domains. Mental health, ADHD, sleep, metabolic. All the studies are there to show that getting outdoors is beneficial to you. Okay, so what's different about us? We're kind of bringing it back to that fundamental need of us being outdoors. The great thing about us is we're also complementary to any other treatments or technologies that do come. So, if we accept that that's our fundamental need, we're speaking directly to that, we're addressing that. Now, of course, over the time, research will develop better treatments, other treatments will come along, but we won't compete with them. In the meantime, until we get it all right, we'll always be like a really good tool in that toolkit to help address whatever problems we have. So I think that's an exciting thing. We're going to be complementary and not so competitive as such, but complementary. And that'll kind of future-proof us, so if the new technologies do come along, we're sitting right alongside them, without any issue.
Amazing. That's really wonderful. You're in a very compelling position between like being the category, not just being the category creator, but rather than fighting for your market share in an existing space. Now, I have to ask a question that I believe our viewers will be thinking as well. So we live in a world where, let's say Apple has health sensors, Google has the AI capabilities, and that Amazon essentially has everything. So what's your competitive advantage compared to these tech giants who could actually, enter the space with the existing resources?
Yep, good question. So I can probably answer that in a couple of different ways. Of course, first we have like the domain expertise. So we're optometrists, being scientists. So we understand the space like no one else. Okay, and it's led by an optometrist, and that's the philosophy we'll take into it. So we're a specialized product to start. So specialized in myopia. Now, tech giants, they may integrate their own light sensors in their smartwatches and smart devices, but they're sort of the monitoring and the app, it's not designed to help manage or prevent myopia. Okay, it's a very generalist. So great, you can have a generalist app, generalist device, but if you really want to focus on your child's health, vision health in this case, Luxi Health is the one to go for. Okay, now on the back of that, me being an optometrist, I've got a good presence in Sydney. Eventually we'll expand that, across Australia, building my connections worldwide. But because I can speak to the eye care health professionals directly, speak for their language, they understand. I can speak to them. Look, the research shows this. We've got this aid. You can promote this to your patients. These are the results that we're getting, and this is the compliance we're getting. We had kids who are spending 15 minutes a day outdoors using our device. We've got them up to 45, hour and a half, 2 hours, So that's encouraging. They understand that. So we kind of entrench ourselves within the eye care health professionals. They're the frontline professionals that are dealing with this issue, tackling this issue. So there's that trust factor there. If I'm speaking to an optometrist or an eye doctor, are they going to trust me, or are they going to trust Mark Zuckerberg with his, sort of tech device? Okay, so that's the advantage. We'll penetrate through there, and of course that'll eventually, hopefully, extend into the school networks, government networks. So that's sort of our moat there. We're going to entrench ourselves there. We're a trusted name. Yeah. So eventually, when Amazon, Google, Apple does develop their own product, they're kind of chasing our tails. Yeah. We've got all the credibility there. And so it'll be tough for them to break that, I think.
Absolutely. Those are very key points. Now, let me paint a picture for you for a future. So let's say, Luxi Health succeeds with the vision that you have created. And let's say, we're sitting here at 2030. So how different does childhood look for the next generation? Like, what have you actually changed about how kids grow up?
Yeah, that's a great question. Look, I believe Luxi Health can be a transformative product, transformative brand. So what we really want to do is change the way society, looks at how we do things. So technology is great. It's improved our lives. Devices in our hand, laptops here. But we've got to start shifting that. And I think the sentiment out there in the public, we're kind of at a turning point. I think a lot of people do recognize that, we've kind of pushed too far with technology, with too much screen time. And there's sort of evidence out there to suggest that, the population, governments do recognize that. So, the great thing is, even though we're still early stage, I get around and I talk to people about my product. Now, they may not have children, but they can still relate to my product and what I'm trying to do. They can say, yes, you're right, John. I spend too much time indoors, that's a great product. We do need that. So, what I want to do is, this message of 2 hours a day, 14 hours a week, I want it to be as common as get 10,000 steps a day, or let's brush your teeth twice a day. Okay. It should just be common knowledge, fundamental to our health. Can't say more simply than that. Like if I get it to that level where everyone just recognizes it, everyone understands it, you got the patient, you got the clinician, and you got more broadly the public health message. If we crack that, then I think it's mission accomplished.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it can just become like a day-to-day thing that you do, part of your routine. That's a very powerful vision indeed. Now, for our audience who are intrigued by what they're hearing, you're currently raising in this pre-seed round to get those clinical plots in Australia and also in Singapore. So can you walk us through what this funding actually achieves and what does the timeline look like for investors that are considering this opportunity?
Yeah, excellent. So we're currently doing a $400,000 pre-seed raise, and it's broken up into two tranches, 200,000, 200,000. Basically, it's 3 months for each stage. So 200,000, that'll cover, the first prototype. We'll cover the regulatory health submissions to Singapore's HSA, Australia's TGA, and those early pilots is testing the product, with our trusted clinician partners. Second phase, we advance from those learnings into our second prototype with beta. We start piloting those, and then looking at tooling and manufacturing for commercialization. So. If we talk, 3 months to 3 months, we're looking at end of December, end of that first phase, and then hopefully by end of March, we're ready for commercialization.
Oh, that truly sounds very exciting, John. So if investors have to reach out to you, what's the best way?
Yeah, you can contact me at my email, so john@luxihealth.com.au. You reach me there, and if you want to learn more, it'd be great. I'm happy to share information.
Wonderful. Thank you, John. To our viewers, what we will do is we will also have the deal drone linked on the side of the screen and then in the description of this video. So please feel free to connect with John. And John, truly, thanks for being here with us today. Literally, the scope of the opportunity, the first mover advantage that you have, and the clinical validation pathway, it's truly very, like exactly the kind of story that, the investor community needs right now, because many people get relate to it at a personal level. So thank you so much for coming in, for sharing your story with us today. And our team wishes you all the luck with your future moving forward.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.